It is truly an honor to welcome Petr Pavel, the President of the Czech Republic here in Strasbourg, who will address the plenary very shortly. Dear President, this is already our new, let's say, I don't know how many times we've met already, and I know this will not be the last. What I can say, this is always a great pleasure to discuss with you. As always, we focused our talks around Ukraine and the need for the European Union to remain steadfast and principled in our support for Ukraine. Ukraine's security is also Europe's security, and we cannot say it clearly enough. Ukrainians today are fighting for our values too. Let me also express my gratitude to your country for being one of the most active in accepting Ukrainian refugees. I know that Czechs strongly support the EU's effort to provide humanitarian assistance to people affected by war. I'm also very impressed, I say this on behalf of the whole European Parliament, of your country's efforts when it comes to getting rid of Russian fossil fuels. Your country might reach full energy independence by 2024, an extraordinary example to all member states. We also spoke about European values and the need to stand up to populism and fight back against disinformation. And with the European elections coming up next June, this is becoming increasingly urgent and important. In 2024, your country will commemorate 20 years of EU membership in May, just weeks before the European Parliament elections. This will provide a natural point in time to reflect on the benefits of European integration and to take stock of 2 decades of European cooperation. It will be a time to speak up for Europe and thereby hopefully also have an increased electoral turnout that would return a parliament that is ready to take on the challenges for the next 5 years. Dear President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It's always a pleasure to come to visit friends and allies. And even though the premises of European Parliament resemble sometimes the battlefield, that in the end we are all aware of our common and unifying purpose, our common goals and strategic objectives. And that is united Europe that is safe and prosperous. And this is our main task. I am not going to go through all main challenges which were just listed by Madam President. I'm going to talk about them at the plenary session, and I have to say that I am grateful to have the opportunity to address the plenary of the main legislative body of the European Union, those people who are setting up the parameters for our future. We will obviously talk about most pressing security issue, that is Russian aggression in Ukraine and the need to go on in supporting Ukraine in our own interest, because Ukraine's security is our own security. We will also talk about European elections and the risk which will be presented by the temptation to go into populism or false narratives. We have to do our best to prevent these false narratives to get the ground. And we have to focus on truly important issues that can move us further on, and not focusing on differences that will inevitably appear, but will be reasonably easy to overcome if we have in mind our long-term focus.
Thank you. Question?
Czech television, Petr Obrovský. I've got a question for Madam President. It's been almost 10 years since the Czech head of state had the last speech here in the European Parliament. Isn't it a bit too long, this time span, and why, in your view, is the dialogue with the European legislature important for the President?
So I'll start with the second part of your question. First of all, we have seen an incredible increase in attention and reception to speeches that are given in the House of Democracy for the European people here in Strasbourg and even in Brussels before the plenary of the European Parliament. Why? Because we shape the European debate, we address challenges, and we use this possibility to talk to everybody and to listen, to understand where things could have been done better, to be honest as to where we have failed in the past, but also extremely proud of our successes. So I must say, as President of this Parliament, I am proud of the way this institution has handled the use of the plenary in order to give this opportunity. For me, this was one of the first things that we discussed as soon as President Pavel was elected, his possibility to address the plenary. I will not talk about the time before I was president, but I can tell you that as soon as President Pavel became president, he got the invitation immediately, and I'm extremely happy that, let's say, better late than never, and we will not wait another 10 years. Okay.
Adam Blažej, Czech News Agency. I have a question for Mr. President. Yesterday you spoke about democratic resilience as you want to make a central topic of your presidency. You even mentioned that you want to organize a conference in Prague. Could you be more specific about it?
I will not be specific about the conference at this point, but I can be more specific on the issue. First, what we have to do is stress to our citizens democratic values, keep repeating how important they are for our daily lives, not just in abstract terms, but using very practical examples, what democracy and what membership in the EU has brought to our citizens, so that even people living in conditions that are, let's say, not the best, living in the regions that are affected by a transition from heavy industry or mining into a more advanced economy, who are not sometimes happy with the development or confused, so that they understand the benefits. And we're also using negative examples where we would be without democracy, where we would be without being members of the EU. And second part of it is an active struggle against disinformation. Because if we are not active in that area, people will be confused. Many of people will be abused by irresponsible politicians who are taking, let's say, easy political points by pointing to a group of people or nations or the institutions as the source of all the problems. So these are two elements that I'm going to focus on.